Hey, thanks for watching Four Color Commentary. I'm Mark Allen, and I'm continuing my vein of showing fanzines today. Fanzines, just that wonderful beginning of fans on a broad basis sharing their passion and their enjoyment of the medium of comic books. And so I want to say also just recently, just shout out to Charlton66 for his his plugging of my channel. I appreciate that. So if you're not a viewer, you're not a watcher of Charlton66, you ought to go check him out. And so anyway, thank you for that. But he was mentioning, he also has a love for fanzines, and was talking about those. Showed a fanzine of his on his last video, or one of his last videos. But I think it was him that said this was fandom before the internet. And this was how, they got the word out there. And this is how the fans communicated, through mail and through fanzines and that kind of thing. And he's right. He's completely right. So that's one of the things that makes this such a cool phenomenon, the fanzine. And they are, they've done this a lot, up and down in prices and desirability and stuff like that. There's some fanzines I've gotten very cheaply, others that have cost me a bit. But, they're slowly, though, the scale, they continue to do this, but it slowly goes up and up. The highs are higher and the lows are higher. And so there's going to become a time. In fact, I'm going to show you 3 issues of F.O.O.M, Friends of Old Marvel, as it was called back in the early 70s, early to mid, I suppose, 70s. But I don't remember how many issues it ran for. But I do know there's 1 or 2 issues of F.O.O.M now that are highly sought after. Because of the first appearance of this character or that. And so anyway, I'm going to start with these are the 3 issues of F.O.O.M that I have. I'm going in descending order for a reason here, but I will say these have all been shown to one degree or another before, but never in depth. But the first one is number 19, fall of 1977. This is so definitely, I guess, the mid to late, early to, because they started in 74, so early to late 70s. But here's F.O.O.M. This is a Defenders issue, special Defenders issue of F.O.O.M. And of course, you got a bunch of Defenders characters or Defenders related characters on the cover there. Continues on the back cover. Okay, so you got, here you go. Here's a spread. Here's a good old spread for you. Let's go ahead and get me a screenshot of that. You know how I am. You know me. All right. So anyway, so this is a Defenders issue, but it has a very cool early art there by John Romita Jr. And I've taken separate photos of this and blown them up so you can see them and make out. It's kind of hard to make out Jr.'s name there, his signature there, but this has got to be 77. That's pretty early work for Romita Jr. I don't know when his first publication was. I know it was a Spider-Man story for Marvel, but it was a backup story, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so, this is going back pretty early. You got some Jack Kirby working here, highlighting and plugging the Stan Lee Jack Kirby Silver Surfer graphic novel that came out, a true graphic novel, because it was all done in graphic novel form. It wasn't done in multiple issues and then collected. It was a true graphic novel. It was a story of the Silver Surfer without the Fantastic Four. And so it was just kind of I've never quite, I've read interviews and such on it, but I've never quite heard anybody talk about or say exactly why they wanted to do the series. The closest I've heard, and this may be the actual truth, but who knows these days what the truth is, but was that Jack wanted to tell the story more his way. The Silver Surfer was visually at least a character of Jack's, and I tend to think it was more Jack's than Stan's. I don't take anything away from Stan, but I do think it was more, Silver Surfer was more Jack's character than Stan's. But I think the case was that Jack wanted to tell a story of the Silver Surfer more his way, more what he originally had in mind, and so they did that. So it was kind of cool that they were able to do that. Okay. So most of this is just kind of, you do have some cool penciled and inked uncolored pages here, or this one uninked, I believe, from the different Defenders books. This one is unused page of original pencils by Keith Giffen for Defenders number 53. So you have some Keith Giffen pencils there. Keith Giffen pencils there that from an unused page. So that's kind of cool. I always like to see unused pages, pages that have never been seen before. I like to see them in fanzines and such as that. You have here F.O.O.M exclusive, once in a lifetime opportunity to see two separate artists' interpretations of the same plot side by side. Here the inked, lettered, and finished pages from number 53, drawn by Mike Golden and Terry Austin, may be compared to unpublished pencil pages by Keith Giffen. Okay, so on this side, my goodness, it's hard to tell. These are so early. I want to say that these are the Golden pages, but it's hard to say. And then these are the Giffen pages. But anyway, just kind of cool that they did that. That they showed the same scenes or the same, interpretations of the same plot right there side by side. Okay. So anyway, just a cool magazine. Here's another cool, you got a Sal Buscema Defenders team spread alongside the newer lineup of the team by Keith Giffen at the time. Here's the Buscema original Defenders there. And there's Giffen doing his best Jack Kirby. And Giffen could do Jack Kirby, man. And so you got good stuff. You got cool stuff there. So anyway, just a neat. There's more stuff in here, but for the sake of time, I'm kind of going through it. Can't pass up the pulse pounding panorama, Hulk panorama by Herb Trimpe. And so there you go. There's just some Herb Trimpe there. But otherwise, just a lot of fun. Well, here's a little more Kirby to finish it off. Captains Britain and America side by side there. All right. But anyway, so that's F.O.O.M number 19, fall of 1977. This next one is F.O.O.M number 16. And they were kind of inconsistent. Doesn't have the date. What's really neat about this one, though, is there's not even there's no address sticker. There was an address sticker on that number 19 that I just showed you, but this one's clean, very clean copy here. What's really cool about this one, starting right off, is you have this great big illustration of the Marvel bullpen at the time. And you have, of course, on this back page, on the last page, you have a who's who. You know, the who's who listed down at the bottom. Love stuff like that. And haven't even dived into that yet, but I will soon, just to kind of see who is who. You know, there's a little bit of mythos to the bullpen. I've read in some places and heard it said that the bullpen was never really quite as big as it was sometimes perceived to be or presented to be, but I don't know if that's true or not. You know, it seems kind of strange to me that they would just go ahead and draw up and print a lie. But, you know, maybe I'm just not cynical enough, okay? Maybe I take people at face value a little more than others. But anyway, what are some of the cool stuff in here? I love this write-up on Marie Severin. Marie Severin, along with her brother John, two of my favorite artists. Certainly they work at Marvel, but I think really kind of two of my favorite artists of all time. Marie and John both learned art at the foot of their father, which is why their styles are so similar. And so just kind of some cool stuff. There is a picture here, and I'll overlay with a larger picture so you can see a little bit better. But an unused Captain America cover there by Marie Severin, and inked by Frank Giacoya. All right, Giacoya. I always have a hard time saying his name. But so anyway, you got some really cool stuff. I'll show this one as well on a larger scale. But art for Trails International, TIA, Trails International Airlines by Marie Severin, and just very cool. Always love the Severin's art. Their art was so similar, and it makes sense since they did learn art. Both of them learned art from their father. So very cool stuff there. You got you got the results of 1976 Irving Awards. Okay, and I'm assuming that Irving is for Irving Forbush. Okay, but Who knows? So you got a write up here on Tom Sutton, who again, another great artist and inker. Pencil artist and inker, I should say. And then just kind of promotions for the comics of the month. All right, so that's F.O.O.M number 16. And then lastly, F.O.O.M number 5 from the spring of 1974. Very clean. And it's really cool because from number 5 to number 16, you can really tell, production value, quality went up. Quality mostly of paper and ink. But this is still a very clean copy. It almost looks more like a 2-color or 3-color magazine here, even on the inside. You look at all the blue, the blue print. And so just production values did go up, okay? Love this one. Here's Jack Kirby and Joe Sennett, the Ringo thing, okay? Here's a funny thing about Jack Kirby's art. And I'm no Kirby expert per se, but one of the things that I notice about Kirby, take a look at those 6-shooters, supposedly. They look in a way almost like sci-fi space age guns, but also something like every gun Kirby ever drew. That is not a knock. That is to say that Kirby could draw anything any way he wanted. He had no classical training per se, but he could draw anything any way he wanted, and people would just say, yeah, that's a 6-shooter, okay? And so you look at that and you go, yeah, that's the thing as a cowboy. That's the Ringo thing. But if you take a close look at those guns, those are not, typical 6-shooters that you'd see drawn in a comic book, all right? You got some early John Byrne here. Very early John Byrne thing there. And I did find his signature. It was hard to find, but it was an early John Byrne, Ben Grimm. You have, again, in this one, you have some cool prelim covers from the Avengers. Let's see, what was it? Giant Size Avengers number 1. Okay, prelim covers there. They were actually those were covers not just by John Romita, but by Rich Buckler as well. I think if my memory serves, they went with the one by Romita. It seems like this one is the one that became, this one right here, is the one that became no, this one right here, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it backwards. This one right here is the Romita cover, and it's the one that became the cover to Giant Size Avengers, if I'm not mistaken. But I may be. Y'all know me. All right. And so, you have some Department of Information about the different books coming out this month. You have really cool, all blue, reproduced Savage Tales cover here. Savage Tales. I'm trying to look for the number. Anyway, Savage Tales featuring Conan the Barbarian and Kazar. Sure looks like a Neil Adams cover, but it may be Buckler doing his best Neil Adams. I don't know, but didn't have time to look for the signature there. And it probably says in the fine print, but I'm not going to look for it. Somebody out there knows who that's by, and you're probably going, nope, or you're going, yep, you got it right, whichever. Let's see, there's one, I'll be honest, there's one particular thing I want to show you in here, but I want to show it last. Another early Byrne illustration. This was technically, Byrne was still a fan in 74 as he's drawing for F.O.O.M. And I'll show you why that is here in a moment. But there's a Dracula Illo by John Byrne. Now, some of these that I say they're by John Byrne, they don't all. This one, for instance, doesn't have a signature. I could be wrong that it's by Byrne, but I don't think I am. But if somebody out there knows, then tell me I'm wrong. I don't get bent out of shape about that stuff. If I'm wrong, I want to know what the right answer is. All right, here's what I wanted to show you out of this one. Because I bought this several years ago now off on eBay. Shipping included. I got this very nice copy of F.O.O.M number 5 for about $8. That's including shipping. And I'm still working on, I'd still like to get more F.O.O.Ms. I wish I'd worked on a little harder. This has been probably close to 8 to 10 years ago now. But anyway, within this F.O.O.M book, it had some fan art by Ken Stacy, who of course became, if memory serves again, a professional comics artist, but also by John Byrne. This is why I say John Byrne was still a fan artist. But here was the thing. Here was the bonus. You ever get something in the mail? You get something you order off of eBay, and there's a bonus with it that even the person selling it obviously didn't know or didn't care. Well, this was it. John Byrne did a sketch or did an illustration of the Frankenstein's monster, and he signed it. Someone had this signed by Byrne, and that is Byrne's signature. I thought, man, when I opened it up, when I saw that, when I thumbed to that page and I saw that, I thought, man, that's great. Love when stuff like that happens. And that kind of thing used to happen a lot more back in the 80s, as I recall. I won't say 90s so much, but in the 80s it happened a lot in my local comic shop when I would pick up different books, back issues, and they might be signed at the bottom of the front page by the artist. It just used to happen a lot at Comic Empire of Tulsa, and I'm sure at other comic shops as well. And that was back before people worried or thought about price point. They just thought, oh, I want to have my favorite artist sign this book, and they had that book for a while, and they had to sell it, or they got tired of it, or whatever. They traded it or sold it, whatever. But it was always a neat thing to open up that book and see, oh, John Byrne signed this, or Paul Gulacy signed this, or any number of artists. And so it's just kind of cool to find that kind of thing. But that's it. Just a few more fanzines to show you today. Some F.O.O.Ms. Those are all my F.O.O.Ms, unfortunately. I'd like to find more. And I'm sure I will one day. But there's so many things I'd like to find. The list just grows and grows and grows. And that's how it is in this hobby, as you well know. Anyway, that's it. Appreciate you watching. Again, thanks to Charlton66 for the shout out. And if you haven't seen if you haven't been to his page or been to his channel, check it out. Great stuff there. Another older collector who knows his stuff. Anyway, that's it. And I appreciate you watching. And I'll see you next video.